Okay, welcome everybody. This is the May session of the CEM's, Commission on Ecosystem Management's Ecosystem Restoration Thematic Group webinar series. We have a monthly webinar series throughout 2019 called the Global Initiatives in Science and Practice. So we do this third Friday of every month. This month we have Mercedes Concepcion Gordillo Ruiz from Chiapas University, and she's going to be speaking today about traditional knowledge in restoration ecology. And if you have any questions throughout the session here today, please feel free to type them in the chat, but we'll address them at the end. It's open to all IUCN and CEM members, as well as any restoration enthusiasts, researchers, practitioners around the globe. So we're very open. We aim to grow participation each month. So create a forum to learn and connect with anybody who's interested in restoration, whether it be on a regional scale, global scale, technical knowledge like today, or new and upcoming initiatives. We use this Zoom platform to present each month. And each month, within a few days or a week, I'll have the recording uploaded to the webinar series webpage. And we also host these on a YouTube channel. So when you go there and you go to the YouTube channel, you can subscribe to that as well. The Ecosystem Restoration Thematic Group is one of the thematic groups within the Commission on Ecosystem Management. We have almost 400 members throughout the globe from all the different regions. And if you're interested in becoming a CEM member, in particular of the Restoration Group, please feel free to email Kara or myself. Our emails are included in all the announcements for this webinar series. We're on the webpage as well, so please just let us know. That brings us to Mercedes. This will be on her work using traditional knowledge in restoration. And got a bachelor's degree of biology at the University of Sciences and Arts in Chiapas, and a master's in management and conservation in forests, Costa Rica. She works in conservation and restoration of ecosystems and agricultural landscapes in the watersheds of Mesoamerica and Chiapas. And then since 2005, she's been a researcher for the Ministry of Environment and Natural History.
Thank you, Brock, Kara, and all members of Union organization for organization this webinar. Today, in the first part, I'm going to talking about the concept traditional knowledge, and the second part I will show the an experience on a study case. Okay. The traditional knowledge is usually recognized for contribution to conservation and adaptive management. This recognized was recently in 1970. But in different politician institution, this traditional knowledge is recognized. Remember the Bhutan Commission, Convention of Biological Biodiversity, Agenda 21, and this situation caused the knowledge traditional it's more important and similar the scientific knowledge. There are many definitions about the traditional knowledge. This is some an aspect common. For example, a cumulative body of knowledge, practice, and belief with with the time and transfer for the generation. But this concept is derived for a complex systems when interview the principal social mechanisms. For example, the social institution, the world vision, and through the TQ, it's an local aspect. This link with another systems, and for this reason, it's not we are understand. How this traditional knowledge can contribute to restoration ecology? This contribution, there are in different ways, but I think the principal aspect may be information about the ecosystem, and some place that are very degraded. Maybe there is not an original ecosystem, and then the information in this situation, the traditional knowledge can contribute to guide and know what is the elements to conform in this ecosystem reference. And another aspect is the traditional practice, or maybe offers difference improve the current model. And in the picture, I showed the chinampa. It's a traditional practice, and how the indigenous come to manage the river environment. And sorry, and okay, and this practice maybe improve, especially in the cultural landscape. And another as important aspect is the people get a different knowledge, ecology knowledge about the species. This know can to help selection for what species use in the program, plans of program restoration, includes the definition outside. And another aspect, I think this the most difficult to do, it's the partnership or the inclusion or participation. This central activity, because the people don't the restoration, it's maybe done don't sustain of the time. In the place where it's necessary to recover the cover of forests, it's very important aspect the select of trees, the criteria of trees. Also in the cultural systems, it's important select consider the culture value. For this context, there are specific two groups of two group of criterions. The first is culture value, and another is the cultural and ecological value. In the culture value, some experience showed use the criteria as quality, intensity, preference, exclusivity, and the language is too important. And another criteria use number uses or perceptual abundance. In my opinion, common and practice only use the number use for a criteria guide for selecting trees. Okay, but what happened with the tropical forests, specifically the dry forests? What is it the most important? What happened with terrestrial ecosystems? This ecosystem is important because they have a high richness, but especially a high endemic and useful species. Unfortunately, this ecosystem is the most endangered terrestrial ecosystem in the world because the land changes and climatic change too. In Mexico, this ecosystem consider different plant communities. These communities are distributed in a gradient of the warm climes. Okay, in particular, this tropical dry forest had a long history, the culture value for Mexico. For example, there are some evidence to show the use of resources in classical and post-classical periods. And currently, approximately 14% indigenous group live near the dry forest. And another important characteristic is this forest is the most biodiversity of the dry forest in the world, and it's an important center of leguminous endemism of the Mesoamerica. Unfortunately, in Mexico, only in Mexico, this ecosystem it's very deteriorated. Most common form is the secondary dry forest. This situation obligate we think the restoration can't be now postponed. But with and difference if it's force for restoration this ecosystem in strict the selection where what are species to use. There are many limitants. For example, in Mexico, the local government is the most important institution to promote restoration with on commercial timber forest. Now, this pool of species is few contrasted with the floristic forest in the forest. Another limit is this situation to cause few integration the interest the local communities with the objectives of conservation biodiversity. And then we, from the ministerial local, we are interested for what how we can do to restore the forest in Chiapas. In this context, we propose use this ecosystem as model study. In Chiapas, there are two zones where the distribution in the dry forest. One is the coast, and another is the central depressions. In the central depression, there are the reserve Villa Allende. This region have a long history to transformation ecosystem. This region is the most endangered or threatened of the Mexico. Currently, only 5% the conserved forests. There are the conserved forests, and the rest it's the secondary forest. Okay. In contrast, this high superfice, the research done many studies about the condition of the dry forest. For this reason, the purpose of the study was describe the useful value of tree natives, the secondary dry forest, and its relation with the ecological importance through structure parameters. And we propose the following hypothesis: there exists a relation between the values with the structure parameters of the secondary forest. The receive is have approximate 12,000 kilometers, but the drive for the secondary dry forest is distributed on those sud sectors, and this in these zones we select it using criteria of homogeneity of type soil. Similar previous line use, the type of the principal type of soil is the little soil, and the previous line use living stock. We use with the interviews and find walls with a local people, and compare the different ages of the dry forest through imaging satellite image, sorry. And we select secondary forests of different age, 10 years, 19 years, 24 years, and more 14 years. Around the select sites, there are different communities. There are ejidos, Berriozábal, Viva Cárdenas y Plan de Ayala. In Berriozábal, it's community of Berriozábal municipality. Viva Cárdenas is a community of San Fernando, and Plan de Ayala is a community of Tuxtla Gutiérrez. The territory of these ejidos conform a big fragment. The secondary dry forest is the fragment most big and important reserve. The people in these ejidos, it's dedicated to agriculture and combine another activities, for example, livestock, and the most people currently it's employed in the city Tuxtla Gutiérrez. Okay. We had a floristic inventory. For this, we use to propose to Alaska, and we introduce plots, square plots for a decimal of hectare. In this plot, we measure a number of species, number of individuals, the height of individual more than 1 meter, and individual more 5 centimeters of the diameter at breast height, and also collect botanical collect. In this specimen, with cooperation and consultation with a specialist, the local university and the Ministry of Environment and Historia Natural for know the taxonomic identity. The ethnobotanical data use or apply interviews through the technique of free list. Basically, we asked to know people about the native trees, how, for example, names of the use white tree, do you know? Or what do you use for them? We interview for 119 people in different in total. Okay, the analysis of data. For analyze the culture value, we use the index, the uses value by Phyllis and Jedra and modified by Rosato. And this index was calculated for use total and for everyday use categories. And with the ecological data, we estimate the ecological important balance by Muller, Dubois, and Ellenberg. This in this one we estimate for every age, for total, and for every age. We relation the social and ecological data through correlation experiments. Basically compare the total and category use value with the ecological importance total or global, and the total use value with the importance, the ecological importance for every age abandoned of forest. Okay, results. We found 200 use species integrate in 77 genera and 37 families. And how can you see in the pictures, maybe there are more possibilities to find another more ethnospecies. However, this richness, it's similar on another secondary forests in report in the Mexico, and includes it's approximate the number of the 3 species report for conservation dry forests in the central region of the Mexico. And another point, it's the Fabaceae was the most important family. One moment, please. It was assessed because the dry forest is considered our point of origin of this, the many species of this family, and the different species of this family have properties to represent to offer different products the local communities. And another important result was the level category, use categories. The firewall, pole, and construction are the most important use categories. The firewall now it's on a use alternative because the high cost to buy a gas, and the use the species for pole, it's linked with a consequence or unnecessary adaptation, a necessary adaptation derive of change in the regulation use the lands. If, for example, for 1980, with introduction, the program proceeded. The PCN had introduced in the territories on the or in the properties poll for delimiting the limited construction. It's also an alternative use, but after it's a very own use. And another important category is use is medicinal, food, ornamental. But another interesting result is the link on next two categories. There are many subcategories and a high specific use. In the picture you can see some subcategories. And it's very interesting how the categories as medicinal it can contribute to resolve some primary problem health, and in the category good can to help of different necessities for the local people. In relation to the use value, we found the only two species, Eysenhardtia adenostylis and Acacia pennatula, and the first is Eysenhardtia, and the second picture is Acacia. Is the most important species. These species have a high use value, and another 16 species have multiple portions showing an intermediate use value, but the rest show lower values. Contrast the ecological importance in general. We found Lulea candida, Tecomestan, Bursera simaruba, Montanoa tomentosa. There were the most important ecological importance, but this species or the most high important ecological value no show a high use value. A level of those category, we found again Acacia pennatula is the most important species for the firewood and fodder categories. The Eysenhardtia adenostylis, it was most important for construction and pole. Bursera simaruba for medicinal. Cedrela odorata and Suetenia humilis for good. And in the category of ornamental was Ticomestan. For food, Persea americana, for Gellius sideropsirium capiri, and for living things and Bursera simaruba. Only a few number of species is where the most important into the different categories. Our respect of correlations, we only find one relation between relative dominance with the 19 LAH forest with the use of value global, and we found the use value of ornamental category with the relative density of the ecological importance global. However, we found this correlation, this result we with reservation, because the levels of the association was low. In this context, we propose how the principal conclusion, there are a high percentage of species with utilitarian value. It's an expression the importance of the secondary forests into the provision of plants to the inhabitants, these communities. It's Eysenhardtia, adenostylis, Acacia pennatula, for recording the high use value. It's the most important use value species. And in the most important conclusion is when the hypothesis initial proposed, no, it's fallen because we found a weak relation between the use for species and phytosociological parameters. And finally, the secondary forests in Villa Allende have important user tree species, but the cultural importance of this on its ecological importance, this is an important aspect, because traditional use the number of species, but no consider what happened with the population of these species. In this case, there are in this case, we must use to complement criteria on the cultural importance with the ecological importance. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mercedes. Yeah, so what we'll do now, we'll move over to a question and answer session. If you could type your questions into the chat window, any questions that you have for Mercedes on her presentation here today, or in general on traditional knowledge and her thoughts and her experience with that, please feel free to type your questions in the chat window.
I believe the first one is from Seth White, and it's a few messages from the bottom of the chat. Hello, a question for the presenter. In your study, species with high use value were found to be of low ecological importance. However, ecological importance in the study was defined as dominance, cover, and frequency. The concept of keystone species allows that species with low abundance or biomass can have high ecological importance. And so here's the question. Were any of the species of high use value potentially ecologically important considering the keystone species concept?
Yes, set why it's true. Set. Okay.
Yes.
The framing work they use the criteria of cultural importance. It's a similar concept like keystone species. But in Mexico and in another region, there in another region reports the correlation, the use value with ecological importance. But in this situation, speak in Cuenca Rio Balsas or watersheds Balsas, it's dubbed the condition of the dry forest. In my contest, in my work, the condition of the secondary dry forest influence to associations.
Okay.
And I see another one here from Rosa, if I may. Do you see the one down here as well? It's actually in Spanish.
Rosa,
Yeah.
Rosa, ¿puedo contestarte en español?
Sure. Let me read the question in English and in Spanish. Can you explain why the number of interviews are so different between men and women? ¿Puedes explicar por qué el número de entrevistados es tan diferente entre hombres y mujeres?
Porque utilicé el criterio de tomar en consideración solamente a ejidatarios reconocidos. No consideramos a otros tipos de personas que habitan en los ejidos, como son los posesionarios. ¿Y por qué? Porque los ejidatarios son los que tienen el derecho o el control en las zonas de bosque. Entonces, esta diferencia es básicamente por eso, ¿no? Porque hay mujeres, pocas mujeres ejidatarias.
Yeah, interesting. So there was no criteria related to the gender of people being interviewed, and so it was just driven by the property owners and that the demographics.
Yes, Cara, it's maybe interesting and necessary to investigate about the role of the gender in this situation. But this study, it's the first effort.
Right. And there was a second part of the question, and I'll say it in English and Spanish. From the 102 species identified, are there category uses associated with women traditional knowledge?
Yes. Specific the categories of medicinals and the food. Why? The medicinal, the woman usually to collect these plants, and they with accompanied the husbands, and the food, but the woman, it's traditional to prepare the food.
Great, thank you. So I don't see any other, oh, here we go. Marina says, thanks a lot, Mercedes. I would like to know the community's work, if the communities work with this restoration taking account the ecosystem approach, or the interest to prioritize silviculture on commercial trees, because restoration needs to consider ecosystem processes and functions more than only the direct uses. What do you think about it?
Sorry, Cara.
Another, let's see. She's asking about the level of interest in commercial forestry species versus other species that maybe are important for ecosystem processes and functions other than direct uses. Is that clear?
Okay, I understand the propose the mix,
yeah,
the goods, commercial goods, and then another cultural trees, for example. But it's necessary to look at the context. In the Villa Allende, the land or the forest compete with the urban use. In this context, maybe the cultural treats it's more appropriate for this context, because the superfice it's very short, and tree species or commercial species, it's necessary a high superfice. It's no a good alternative for this context.
And there's a related question here from Juan Gilberto Garcia Cancel, and he said, could the plantations be mixed with some of the high value traditional plants found in your studies?
Sorry, Cara, could you please repeat?
Sure. He's asking, could the plantations be mixed with some of the high value traditional plants found in your studies? And he also translated, ¿acaso las plantaciones madeleras se pueden mezclar con algunos de los arbustos y árboles que encontraron en su estudio?
Yes. Yes, it's possible. Because some species grow in the high environmental degrade and could to reinforce the restoration, the capacity, the soils.
Great. And I think we have time for one more question, and we have one here from Ezekiel Perez about criteria for ecosystem restoration. He says in Spanish, mi criterio en la restauración de ecosistema es el índice de calidad de sitio de las especies. Hay especies nativas que pretendo en las riberas de los ríos, como la guadua angustifolia, como especie nativa.
Okay. It's good criteria, but in the dry forest, the limit it's the disponibility of water, and this sentence the calidad del sitio it's necessary to complete with another criteria.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Mercedes, and congratulations on an excellent and very informative presentation. It's been fantastic having you here as part of the Ecosystem Restoration Thematic Group's webinar series.
The next goal for this line of investigation is precisely select this species and start to work with in size. And in this context, I like to invite the integrate of this group to work together.
Mercedes, again, thank you so much. I see some people are starting to log off, so I want to make sure that we have a chance to introduce our June series when we will have the Society for Ecological Restoration present a webinar on international standards for ecological restoration. And this will be an overview of the second version of the Society's standards, and will be an amazing opportunity for the IUCN network and the global restoration community to ask questions directly about the standards to the executive director of the Society, Bethany Walder, who we have the good fortune will be joining us for that. In July, we will be having regional update, and in August, we will be talking about activities and new initiatives related to the UN decade on ecosystem restoration. And so the August meeting in particular will be a chance for members of the thematic group and others to present ideas, discuss a dialogue on priority actions. So Brock, I'll turn it over to you for anything else in closing out the webinar.
Yeah, thank you very much, everybody. So thank you for joining us this month. In the chat window, we placed a link to a quick survey, and it's just a little general information. It's only 3 questions. It'll only take you a minute to finish. It's just a way for us to capture different topics that you would like to see us talk about in the future, and we would like to include those into future agendas. So I will include an email thanking everybody sometime next week. I'll include Mercedes' email address in case you have any additional questions for her, and I'll also put the survey link in there as well. But if you have a chance to just take a minute and complete that survey, it would really help us help you in order to bring up topics that you find interesting to your work. Thank you. So yeah, thank you very much, Mercedes. We appreciate your time here today. And we will post the video of this recording on the series webpage.
Oh, it's my great Brock, Cara, all. Thank you very much for this experience.
Thank you very much. And yeah, if you have any further questions, if we didn't get to all of them, please feel free to email her. Take the survey, and we'll see you next month, June 21st. Mark it on your calendars. And we'll be talking about global initiatives and international standards for ecological restoration. So thank you very much, everybody. I hope you have a great weekend.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.